Well, hello there, Ramblers, and welcome to another instalment of Reese Rambles, my weekly podcast all about the comings and goings, movings and shakings, and all the rest of it in the world of vintage and retro computing technology and gaming. I hope you're all doing well out there. And particularly this weekend, as we are being battered by this epic storm, my friends over in Ireland in particular, red weather warnings for the entirety of Ireland and Northern Ireland. So I hope you are safe out there. And it's also hitting Scotland and the north of England quite badly as well, from what I hear. We never get any kind of excitement here in the Midlands. We're very well kind of sheltered from it all. But we have had some flooding actually in recent weeks. So I suppose we haven't survived completely unscathed. But anyway, I'm sure you don't come here for the weather. Let's get straight on with the stories. So, regular listeners to these rambles will no doubt be aware that I am a huge proponent of game preservation in all of its forms. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a very important thing as well, culturally and historically. Of course, the games industry is the biggest entertainment industry in the world, and it's such an important part of our cultural heritage. And documenting this stuff so people can kind of learn about it and learn from it and learn where we came from, learn our history, is a big part of why I started my YouTube channel in the first place. So I'm always very supportive of these particular projects. Now, a big part of that, of course, is the media. The way that games and things have been covered in the past, of course, in the newspapers, the magazines, dedicated gaming press, computing press, all those old magazines. I mean, I collect old ST format magazines and ST Amiga format magazines because I'm a bit of a sad git like that. But it's important, particularly if you want to research this stuff. I appreciate I'm probably preaching to the choir here. Well, this coming week, something very, very exciting is going to be happening on that front. And it's happening with one of my favourite groups as well. So here is an announcement over on Blue Sky from the Videogame History Foundation. And it says, "Good things come to those who wait. The Videogame History Foundation Digital Library launches on January the 30th, 2025. And it says in brackets, "We'll tell you all about it then." So, of course, the Videogame History Foundation probably don't need too much introduction. And if you haven't heard of them before, the clue is in the name. I mean, that's what they do: game preservation, finding old prototypes and things, and interviewing the developers that were available at the time, and trying to preserve this stuff and make it available. And now they are doing the same for gaming and computing magazines, the gaming media. And there's a picture here for the benefit of my audio listeners. So they have posted a photo along with this post on Blue Sky, which says library launch 1/30/25. American date format never made sense to me, but each to their own. And basically, everything's crossed off the list apart from gamehistory.org revamp. Wonder what that is. But yeah, we've got clean up metadata, front end feature requests, more content. Is that someone's more bins, please, every month? Some post-it notes. Well, that might be someone's passwords there on that post-it note, but apparently not. And there is a video that goes along with this as well, which explains what this project is all about. Now, this video was actually first posted a year ago. This project has been such a long time in the making. But I'm very pleased to report that, on the 30th of January, which is next Friday, I believe, Thursday, whenever it is, 30th of January, this will actually be launching to the public. But in the meantime, you can go and check out that post, and of course, you can go and check out this video as well. It's nearly 19 minutes long and explains all of their goals with this library and how they're kind of standardizing all of this content, getting it all online so researchers can have access to it. I think it's a very noble cause, of course, as previously stated, and it's something that I want to shout from the rooftops and give a bit of publicity to. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Go check out the post and the video in the description and in the show notes if you're listening to this on one of the podcast platforms, as per all of my stories every week. What a great start. It's Taki Udon update time. That's right. I should make this a regular segment or something with like a little theme tune and stuff. I said, what? That's just reminded me. What happened to the kazoos? I had a tidy up in here quite a while ago, and I think I can't remember where I put them. I'm so easily distracted. Anyway, Taki Udon, of course, the tech YouTuber turned electronics and FPGA genius, product design genius, I think it's fair to say, released the Mr. Pi, the DE10 clone, of course, a while back, which was very well received and incredibly cheap for what it was. Of course, that DE10 Nano clone. And I know I explain FPGAs and all that stuff every single week, but I do get new listeners. I do get listeners who aren't entirely technical. So for the benefit of those people, FPGA chip, you can run all these different cores on it that let you simulate or emulate or recreate, however you want to put it. Loads of different computers and consoles and things. And it's by far the best way to enjoy all of these old games, at least in my opinion. Although I don't judge, I don't discriminate. You can enjoy them however you like. And Taki has really made a name for himself in this space by churning out all these fantastic products. His D10 clone, of course, the Mr. Pi, and most recently his PSOne-based console. And there was some speculation last week about the name of this and how he was going to call it the SS something, and people pointing out that that might not go down particularly well in some parts of Europe. And the name has been announced this week, and without further ado, let's hop over to Blue Sky and take a look at it. So the name has been announced as the SuperStation 1, and I think that's a great name. Perhaps, obviously, when you're dealing with Sony, perhaps flying a little bit close to the proverbial whatever, but hopefully gets away with it. It's such a cool looking thing, as discussed last week. Updated the family, 35 hours left. So by the time you are listening to this, it will be pretty much time to jump in and get your orders in for this. We've got the sales starts announcement here. So 26th of the 1st, 2025 at 10 a.m. Hong Kong time or at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what that translates to in UK time, I'm not quite sure. I probably should have checked in advance, shouldn't I? But we're about halfway between those two, aren't we? So you can go and look it up. And another thing that has been announced, or at least teased this week, is this lovely transparent blue version. So it's in the publicity shot here, which shows the PlayStation controllers and the memory card support. And we've got three different colorways. So we've got the black one, the white one, and this lovely transparent blue one. And there is previously a post with a slightly better look at this transparent blue console as well. And isn't that a beautiful thing? $149.99 as well. I don't know how he does it, because this thing's Mr. compatible. So you buy this thing, it looks like a little PlayStation or a little PS1. You can plug your PlayStation controllers into it. You can use your memory cards with it. But most importantly, yes, you can run the PlayStation Core on it and play all those original PlayStation games, but you can also play all of the Mr. FPGA cores on it as well. So all those old computers, those old consoles, your Mega Drives, your SNES, I'm getting hot under the collar just thinking about this. The SuperStation 1 Founders Edition goes on sale on the 26th, and it is $149.99. I expect they'll probably sell out pretty much instantly, like all of Taki's stuff, and fair play to him. He makes some fantastic stuff. Might try and jump on one of these, but more than likely I'll probably forget, because I always do. So, hands up who is familiar with the Angry Video Game Nerd. That's right, yes. A huge name on YouTube, a huge name online in the world of video gaming journalism. One of the earliest channels I remember watching on YouTube. And in fact, his content predates YouTube by a fair few years. He started uploading in 2004, believe it or not. And I think it's fair to say that he's quite a big influence on anyone who does any kind of online video to do with gaming coverage and all of that kind of stuff, whether directly or indirectly. And of course, also released a movie at one point and has had a couple of games made about him as well. So a really kind of big cultural icon. I appreciate he's kind of a bit of a Marmite character. Not everyone watches his channel. I don't think I've watched any of his videos for a while now, although that's more kind of falling out of the habit. But yeah, he has this channel over on Cine Massacre, it's called, and he does movie reviews and that kind of thing, and also his character, the Angry Video Game Nerd, reviewing rubbish games. I mean, that's not the word that he uses, but we'll go with rubbish games. The rubbish games of the past. Iconic theme tune as well. Definitely go and check out some of his videos if you haven't already. He's had them released as DVD box sets and all sorts of stuff. I mean, anyway, the news this week to do with Mr. Rolf, the Angry Video Game Nerd, is that yet another game is being made about him. So the Angry Video Game Nerd is getting his very own 8-bit Mega Man-esque adventure coming to the NES, the Nintendo Switch, the PC, the Xbox, and the PlayStation. This has been reported over on TimeExtension.com. And it says here that the Angry Video Game Nerd will soon be returning to consoles in Angry Video Game Nerd 8-bit. I wonder how many times I could say Angry Video Game Nerd in this segment. And apparently it's inspired by Mega Man, which if you are a viewer of his stuff, you will no doubt be aware that he is a huge fan of. So very apt. And the game will be released on the NES as well as modern platforms such as the Nintendo Switch, the PC, Xbox, and PlayStation in Q2 2025. And will reportedly see the nerd battle through frantic platforming levels and defeat classic AVGN enemies to save gaming from a corrupted monstrosity. Very, very good. Did they make a game of the movie at one point? I would highly recommend not watching the Angry Video Game Nerd movie if I were you. It's not very good. Anyway, this isn't the first time Angry Video Game Nerd has starred in their own video game. Previously, he appeared in Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures and Angry Video Game Nerd 2 Assimilation from FreakZone Games. 2 games that were later remixed and rebalanced for the Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe. I'm losing it. According to the press release, the NES version of the game will be available exclusively to limited run games, and that's a whole story in and of itself. Of course, a company that publishes all of those physical versions of all of these indie games and things, with other physical versions to be announced at a later date. And you can even go and wishlist the game now on Steam. And there is an announcement trailer here embedded on the website. And does this guy not age at all? I mean, I'm pretty sure he looks exactly the same as he did back in 2004. Anyway, so yeah, there's the trailer. You can go and watch it. He takes the cartridge off the shelf and he shoves it into his NES, and you can see some actual gameplay footage here and some of the cutscenes and things. And it actually looks like a pretty decent platformer, to be fair, based on what I've seen. Maybe I'll be picking this up and giving it a little play. But there you go. One more time, just for the record, Angry Video Game Nerd is getting another game. So there it is. Go wishlist it on Steam or get your pre-order in at Limited Run Games as soon as that goes online. Very good stuff. Okay, so a new feature for you here on the Rambles. I have actually created a channel over on my Discord server specifically for Ramble submissions, because people were posting stuff to the Discord server and I was kind of missing stuff or occasionally forgetting to make notes of things. So if anyone has any actual official suggestions that they want to make, I know some people have subreddits and kind of other ways of doing this stuff. But yeah, that's one way to do it. Or you can mention stuff down in the comments. I must admit, with my crazy ADHD-addled brain, it's kind of a bit hit and miss as to whether I'll actually pick stuff up and talk about it. But I have remembered this week, and I've had 2 very good submissions this week that I did want to let you know about. So the first one is from a Discord user known as Seat Safety Switch, who is a kind of a long-term supporter and fan of the channel. So thank you ever so much for this submission. And this one is right up my alley. So this is a project called Raven, and what it is an Atari clone computer, which is based on the Motorola 68060 CPU. So, of course, the Atari ST it used the Motorola 68000 CPU, and then, of course, there was the Falcon 30, which was the upgraded, super beefy successor to the ST, a very crazily powerful, capable machine for its time, which unfortunately was a massive commercial flop because it was Atari in the early 90s. And that ran a Motorola 68030, of course, but this is the 060. This is the cream of the crop, the big daddy of Motorola 68000 CPUs. And so there's a link to the GitHub for this project, which of course will be linked in the usual places. And the description here starts off: this computer is primarily designed to be an Atari clone computer with the goal of being able to natively run clean GEMTOS applications, of course GEMTOS being the operating system of the ST, and backward compatibility with old ST games by help of software emulation. So this looks like such a cool project. It's a little homebrew clone board here. We've got a screenshot of it here, running one of the modern versions of GEMTOS, Gem/TOS, of course, however you want to describe it. I'm not quite sure, is that their own custom version, or is it? I'm kind of out of touch with the kind of the Falcon 30 scene and that kind of stuff, but it looks cool. And more importantly, I think, or perhaps more of interest to me, is the hardware here. So look at this thing. Look at this board. Isn't this a thing of beauty? We've got 4 ISA style slots on here. I guess, of course, there are projects that allow you to hook up ISA cards to stuff like the ST and the Falcon. Yeah, you can presumably hook up network cards and things like that to this board. It has SIMs for the RAM, of course. It's got your 68060. It's got your ports on the back. It's got ATX power connector on it. And of course, it's ITX, so you can use it in a lot of different PC case designs. So this computer was designed as a one-off creation for myself for learning and as a platform for low-level tinkering. Things like cost reduction or other factors that might be important for a product was never high on the priority. Why am I doing that with my hand? Hardware and software sources are provided as is and for free, but comes with no guarantee or promise of support. The computer works for me and runs MUTOS and FreeMint. I should have guessed, of course. But if you decide to build or buy this board, I very much recommend coming in with a DIY mindset. It's early days still, and waiting on drivers or fixes made by others could very well have you waiting indefinitely. If you're into hardware tinkering or low-level programming, then this board could potentially provide a bunch of fun. So lots of warnings here, lots of caveats. This is very much a DIY project. And specifications are a 680 CPU, a maximum 48 megabytes of RAM, a maximum 16 megabyte ROM. It supports PS2 mouse and keyboard. It has a 1 megasecond serial port. It's got the legacy Atari serial port and parallel port and joystick ports. It has an IDE hard disk interface, a real-time clock, MIDI, of course, all important for those ST fans, and the YM2149 sound chip as well. Of course, you've got the MC68901 MFP and indeed those ISA 16-bit expansion slots. So what a beautiful looking thing this is. And yeah, it might be an interesting project for me to build. I mean, I don't know. Am I capable? Am I competent enough to handle something like this? Let me know down in the comments. Maybe don't. But anyway, the second story for this week from my Discord server comes from Gravitone, whose stories I have featured before in these rambles. And this is Hoffman's latest project. So, of course, Hoffman, friend of the channel, amazing DJ, a huge name in the Amiga scene, and a bloody lovely chap as well. And not only is he all of those things, he's also ridiculously smart, ridiculously good looking, ridiculously talented programmer and musician. How is it fair? But anyway, so Hoffman is working on a new project and porting a game. I should say he has perhaps his best known porting project was Seekonoid. I say porting project. He kind of rewrote the entire thing from scratch, didn't he? Which was like an old Spectrum game that he has redone for the Amiga recently. And if you're a fan of RMC, of that YouTube channel, he also adapted that to an Amiga-based arcade machine that they have over there at the cave. So, yeah, there's no end to this guy's talents. But anyway, he's now porting Golden Axe to the Neo Geo. So he's posted a video over on Twitter, or X, I suppose we should call it. And, I mean, look at it. Look how well it runs. Look how good it looks. How does he do this stuff? I don't know. Now, of course, it's the very, very early days yet. This is just kind of a bit of a proof of concept. But yeah, why did the Neo Geo not get Golden Axe? That's kind of what I'm confused about. You think it would have done, wouldn't you? I suppose it was a Sega game, wasn't it? But even the Atari ST got a port of Golden Axe. Great game, and of course, fantastic that Neo Geo players will get to play it. And no doubt it will probably end up being the superior version of the game as well, with all of that hardware and Hoffman's skills behind it. Anyway, yes, I think I will stop sucking up to Hoffman now and get on with the next story. But thank you ever so much to Seat Safety Switch and Gravitone over on my Discord server for those 2 submissions this week. Fantastic stuff. Now, we're going to take a little trip back to the world of FPGA for this ramble. And yeah, of course, earlier I talked about Taki Udon and his latest project, the SuperStation 1. Is that what it was called? I nearly said Super Sega there. I'm trying to ignore those guys. Yeah, you know, I talked about Mister and how you can run all of those super accurate cores that run all those old computer and console games. And of course, the Mister isn't the only game in town. There was Mars, which was supposed to be the replacement for Mister, which was bigger and better and more powerful. I have no idea what happened to that project. I've not heard anything about it for a long time. And at the other end of the scale, there's stuff like that FPGBC, that's an FPGA-based Game Boy clone that I built on my channel last year. And I was actually just looking for it so I could use it as a prop and wave it at you in that way that I like to do whenever I talk about it. But yeah, it's actually at home because I've been playing with it. I play with that thing all the time. It's a very cool project. And there's another low-cost option that's just come up on my radar. I was just browsing through one of my favourite websites, Time Extension. We're going to give them some more publicity in this ramble. And I think it bears talking about because this is a very cool low-cost way to get into the world of FPGA. So this is the $69 FPGA Tang console, and it says here that it can double as a retro gaming handheld as well, apparently, according to the headline. So let's read on and get a bit more insight into this. It supports the NES, the SNES, or the NES and the SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Genesis, and Amiga, Genesis or Mega Drive, and the Amiga, which I believe is called the Amiga in the rest of the world. And it's made by a company called Siped, S-I-P-E-E-D, which isn't one that I've heard of, but they have revealed their latest FPGA retro gaming platform, which is called the Tang console. And it's billed as an expandable and versatile rival to the Mr. FPGA project, of course. The Tang console starts at just $69 for the 60K version. There is a 138K version, which is $99. And at 65 by 56 millimeters, it's roughly half the size of a Mr. So it's like that big, isn't it? Supported consoles include the NES, the SNES, the Game Boy, the GBA, the Mega Drive, and the Amiga. And the platform will be able to run community-made FPGA cores as well. So I'm guessing anything kind of Amiga and below. So you're talking stuff like your 8-bit stuff, the Spectrums and Commodore 64s, and even stuff like the Atari ST. I guess if it can run Mega Drive stuff. Loads of scope here for some kind of really cool 8 and 16-bit systems. And $69, you've got the benefits of the FPGA, of course, that fantastic kind of one-to-one hardware level, logic level kind of recreation of those systems. And yeah, your dream FPGA retro game console is here. The Tang console starts at $69, half the size of the Mister. This is all stuff that I've just mentioned. So they're clearly aiming at the retro gaming community, but the company stresses that its small size and low cost means it can be used for other non-gaming projects too. The company is also offering free units to FPGA developers who are interested in creating content for the device. And I think that's actually a really important point because we do talk about FPGA as if it's exclusively a gaming thing. But of course, there's people like Richard over at Heber, for example, who have a lot of commercial experience with FPGAs in commercial projects because certain things, getting a custom ASIC, a custom integrated circuit designed and made for a low yield, a low run, that's the wrong word, a low run project is very, very expensive. It's very prohibitively expensive. And of course, you can just define all of your logic in Verilog, program your FPGA. It also has the benefit that it's reprogrammable as well, field reprogrammable. I mean, that's the clue's in the name. So, it's really interesting that they're targeting this as a low-cost Mister alternative and also as kind of an industrial FPGA platform as well. Really, really interesting thing, this. I might have to grab one of these. So it has a really nice product page here over on Siped.com, Siped.com/Tang console, linked in the usual places, as always. And it's expandable. It's got its own expansion connectors on it. It's all open source, community-driven cores, and we offer free early prototypes to developers of FPGA retro game cores. So if you're interested in porting your core to the Tang console, please email them. The email address is just here, support@siped.com, with the subject line, apply for Tang console, retro game core developer. Makes sense. We will send you an early prototype within a month. And I guess you're going to have to try and prove your credentials there. They probably don't want a load of scroungers sending them emails trying to grab stuff for free. But I love this. This looks like such a cool project, doesn't it? I mean, it's such a nice little piece of hardware as well. Very cool. What's that? It's got a Raspberry Pi hat on it as well. This thing supports Raspberry Pi hats. And they've got it pictured here with some SNES-style controllers. Of course, it's got USB ports on it. And there's also a handheld based on the same platform as well, the Tang Retro Pocket. Oh, they're comparing it to the Mr. Pi here. Ooh. Taki Udon has got competition. Anyway, I thought that was a really cool project, and I literally only just spotted it as I was kind of browsing through stuff, talking about one of the previous stories in this ramble, so I thought I would bring it to your attention. Links in the usual places, as I always like to say. And that's that, the Tang console. And of course, that brings us around quite neatly to our regular Video of the Week feature, wherein I showcase a video that I have seen in the past week on the old YouTubes that has inspired me or entertained me or educated me or all of the above, or potentially none of the above. Sometimes they're on topic, sometimes they aren't. And this week's is very much on topic, I'm pleased to report, and it's from a channel who is a good friend of mine as well. Just a kind of full disclosure there. Really lovely chap, John is, and he makes some bloody fantastic computer history documentaries about all sorts of interesting hardware. So if you're not subscribed to his channel, please do go and give him a subscribe when you go and check out the video. And this is all about the history of the Transmeta CPU. Now, I remember seeing machines advertised with these CPUs back in the day. Of course, this was a kind of a rival to the Intel and AMD CPUs back in kind of around the turn of the century kind of time, very late 90s, early 2000s. And it's such an interesting story, this company. Now, of course, I don't want to ruin this video for you. It's a fascinating video. It's 22.5 minutes long, but this company had very lofty ambitions about kind of a reprogrammable chip. Funnily enough, just coming off the back of an FPGA story, I guess. Oh, there's a sponsor segment there. Let's skip that. We don't want to give them free publicity, do we? But yeah, it was a group of people who invented this kind of revolutionary concept in CPU design, this chip that could be kind of reprogrammed on the fly to support different architectures and things. And it never really kind of fully came to fruition. Obviously, they had technical hurdles along the way. They hired all sorts of really big names in kind of the hardware and the software world and came up with this absolutely bonkers thing and actually shipped computers with it in. I mean, I remember computers being advertised with these Transmeta CPUs in. They were, Intel and AMD compatible. You could run Windows on them. I think there were some Sony Vaio machines that had them in. That's probably where I remember them from. But it's something that I have zero hands-on experience with and something that I knew absolutely nothing about. And I imagine that there's an awful lot of people out there who are exactly the same as me when it comes to this subject. So, fascinating piece of computing history, again, from Mr. Retro Bytes, and a fantastic channel. And I can highly recommend this video. So please do go and give it a watch. Go and show him some love. But perhaps more importantly, go and bother him in his comment section and tell him that Reese sent you, because I will get messages from him about that and it will make him very happy. That's Video of the Week. There you go. And so, sadly, our time together this week begins to draw to a close. But, of course, there's one more subject that I need to cover, and it is indeed my favourite subject. That subject being, well, me and my channel. And as you'll know, I made this commitment this year to make YouTube a much bigger part of my life, to make it my second job, essentially. And that's what it has become. I mean, we're coming towards the end of the first month of this, and I'm actually really pleased with the way that it's going. And I suppose I'll talk a little bit more about that maybe in a second channel video or something in the future. But one thing that I did commit to as part of that was weekly releases, and I'm very pleased to report that this week I have managed to keep up with that schedule. I have had some distractions this week, and I also had some kind of technical issues with this video, but very pleased that I am able to get it out there. Although that said, it's not actually public yet as at the time of recording. It will be by the time you listen to this. And this is a video about this Mac Pro again. So last week I did a teardown of a 2008 Intel Mac Pro and booted up to see if it would work, which it did. And then I told myself I'd put it on the shelf and just kind of have a bit of a think, I guess, behind the scenes while I work on other stuff, have a think about what I want to do with this machine longer term. And as explained in this video, that did not go to plan at all, because you have a ridiculously powerful dual Xeon 2008 workstation thing sat on your desk. Inevitably, you're going to fiddle with it. And I got Windows 11 up and running on it, as I did with that Pentium 4 system, that 20-year-old Pentium 4 late last year. Oh, there it is. Perfect timing. It's just popped up on the screen. And then I thought, well, I've got this machine running Windows 11, and it was a huge pain to get it installed. But once it's actually on there and running, it runs amazingly well. It's a brilliant Windows 11 machine, which is, considering it's 17 years old, pretty crazy. But of course, that couldn't be the entire story. Oh, I've just installed Windows 11 on this thing. I want something else to fiddle with, and Exodus is something that I've been wanting to fiddle with for a long time. So Exodus, if you're not familiar with it, It's a collection of basically pretty much every single DOS game ever made. It comes with its own launcher called Launchbox. That's a separate project, but I explain all of this in the video. And it's all based on DOSBox and running these games in kind of their own DOSBox containers. They're all highly optimized. They're all documented. You've got the history of the game there and everything, screenshots and all the rest of it. It's such a brilliant project, and it's something I've been wanting to have a play with for the longest time and wanting an excuse to get it up and running on something. And why not on a 17-year-old Mac running Windows 11? So that is my video for this week. I did tell myself I wouldn't do 2 Mac Pro videos in a row, but that's just how it kind of transpired. And there we go. So yeah, if you're interested in how I managed to get that to work, I can highly recommend that video. Of course, it will be linked down below in the description and in the notes, of course, if you are listening on one of the podcast platforms. But that's all I have for you for this week. So thank you ever so much for joining me once again for this ramble. I just want to take this opportunity to wish you a lovely weekend, and hopefully I'll see you at the same time and same place next week, if not before, either on this channel or over on the main channel, Control-Alt-Reese. So thanks again, and I shall see you next time. Bye. That was quite explaining computers, wasn't it? I think that's how he signs off on his videos.